Our universe is quite a confusing place, and seldom do we have even the remotest idea what's going on. In some sense, our life is like a koan, a Zen puzzle. A koan is something to think about that your mind cannot easily wrap itself around. You have to mull it over and chew on it like a dog chewing on a bone. Our whole life is like that. All the pieces don't exactly fit together. Where's my career? Where's my soulmate? Where's my peace of mind? Where am I? Who am I? It's like somebody took the puzzle pieces, threw them on the table, and now we're supposed to put it all together. As humans, we don't like not knowing. In fact, our brains are wired to crave certainty. That's because feeling sure about something triggers the release of the neurotransmitter dopamine, which stimulates the brain's reward pathways and leave us wanting more. To understand the pleasure involved, imagine having an aha moment. It's a feeling of great satisfaction at having arrived at absolute knowledge or certainty. On the other hand, not knowing and being left deprived of that dopamine surge gives us a profound sense of lack. We abhor uncertainty and will do just about anything to avoid it, even choosing a known bad outcome over an unknown but possibly good one. In one British study, participants experienced greater stress when they had a 50% chance of receiving an electric shock than when they had a 100% chance. Uncertainty is the underlying reality of life, and our belief that everything is predictable is nothing but a delusion. When I step back and look at it, the process of delusion is kind of remarkable. Our mind is so powerful that it paints a picture of stability in a world that changes from moment to moment, from day to day. We know the only constant is change. It's the most basic fact of our human existence. Nothing lasts, nothing stays the same. Nothing is as solid as it appears. Everything is unstable, temporary. We feel it with each breath. From birth to the unknown moment of our passing, we ride a river of change. And yet, in spite of all evidence to the contrary, we exhaust ourselves in an endless search for solidity. We hunger for something that lasts, something that rises above time and change. We hunger for certainty. We crave information about the future in the same way we crave food and sex. We take it as given that uncertainty is always bad, and conversely that certitude is always good. Yet, ancient philosophy as well as a growing body of scientific evidence suggests otherwise. Uncertainty need not hobble us, and in the right form and in the right amount, it's actually a great pleasure, says Daniel Gilbert, a psychology professor at Harvard. We are not fated to suffer when faced with uncertainty. We have a choice. In my experience, there are two ways to solve the problem of the unknown: by decreasing the amount of perceived risk, or by increasing our tolerance for uncertainty. Most of us focus almost exclusively on the former. Many philosophers think this is a mistake. Philosophers have wrestled with uncertainty and impermanence since at least the time of the ancient Greeks. Stoicism, a philosophy founded by Zeno of Citium, flourished in the 3rd century BC in Athens before spreading to Rome. It is especially well suited for helping people cope with uncertainty, and for good reason. The Stoics lived during particularly unsettled times. Athens had lost much of its independence as a city-state, and the death of Alexander the Great several years earlier had left a power vacuum in the region. The old order had collapsed, and a new one had yet to take its place. Faced with uncertainty, we naturally strive to take control. I think part of why we fear uncertainty is because we seem to get caught up in this game of thinking that we can actually control life as it unfolds. And this illusion of control happens because sometimes we do control parts of what's happening, and that makes us forget that we actually don't control it all. Sickness, old age, and death come in from time to time to remind us that we are simply not in control. Much of life lies beyond our control. But Stoics believe we do control what matters most: our opinions, impulses, desires, and aversions, our mental and emotional states. Change what you can, accept what you cannot. Master the skill and you will be invincible. This isn't easy, but it's possible. After all, accepting the uncertainty inherent in life is better than fighting a constant battle against it, one we are bound to lose. In the end, no matter what happens, our minds and our reactions are still our own. When we let go of the notion we can control everything, we free ourselves from the illusion that we are in control. To show the power of mindset, Stoics use a metaphor of a cylinder rolling down a hill. Gravity ensures the cylinder will start rolling, but its shape determines how smoothly and quickly it rolls. We can't control the hill or gravity, but we can control the shape of our cylinder, the state of our minds. The ability to tolerate uncertainty can bring great rewards. Uncertainty, after all, drives the quest for knowledge. Everyone says we're afraid of the unknown, but I'm most afraid when I think I do know. It's largely the stories I tell myself that spark the greatest anxiety. But the truth is that most of us know considerably less than we think we do. Most of the time, we don't have enough information in our own heads to justify what we believe. We live under this illusion that we've analyzed a particular issue, but usually that knowledge is just sound bites of other people's opinions or something we read in an article 3 months ago that we only kind of remember. This illusion of knowledge leads to overconfidence in our beliefs. In other words, certainty kills insight. Where understanding stands, nothing can be learned. The best scientists know this intuitively and are willing to live with unknowns as they explore new frontiers. I don't have to know an answer, the theoretical physicist Richard Feynman said. I don't feel frightened not knowing things, by being lost in a mysterious universe without any purpose. I don't know is a phrase championed by Zen teachers throughout the ages. It could be that cherishing not knowing is one of the keys to a life well lived. Japanese philosophers go a step further. Don't merely tolerate uncertainty and impermanence, but celebrate it. The most precious thing in life is its uncertainty, wrote Yoshida Kanko, a 14th century Buddhist monk. Consider the sakura, or cherry blossom. The trees are famously fleeting. They bloom for only a week or two, and then the petals are gone. Other flowers, plum blossoms for instance, last considerably longer. Why go to such great lengths to cultivate something as fragile as the cherry blossom? Because beauty lies in its own vanishing, says Donald Ritchie in his book A Tractate on Japanese Aesthetics. Life is ephemeral. Everything we know and love will one day cease to exist, ourselves included. That is life's one certainty. The cherry blossom is lovely not despite its transience, but because of it. We can learn to tolerate the unknown, and perhaps even catch glimpses of the beauty underlying life's uncertainties. This is an appropriate foothold to transition into the power of Buddhist practices in the face of uncertain times. After all, Stoicism and Buddhism hold similarities in both philosophy and practice. Buddhists believe that life is both endless and subject to impermanence, suffering, and uncertainty. These states are called the Tilaghna, or the 3 signs of existence. Existence is endless because people are reincarnated over and over again, experiencing suffering throughout many lives. It is impermanent because no state, good or bad, lasts forever. Our mistaken belief that things can last is a chief cause of suffering. In many Buddhist traditions, seeing through this illusion and directly seeing the reality of uncertainty and impermanence is a central feature of meditation practice. In meditation, the mind becomes stable, steady, and clear enough to see how rapidly everything is changing on a moment-to-moment basis. Even sitting still and breathing is a constantly changing set of dynamic processes. From the perspective of the heart, the real issue is not the uncertainty itself, it's our relationship to it. And for me, the most liberating question is not how do I regain control, because we never really had control in the first place. The liberating question is, how am I relating to this? Look not outward, Buddha said, for the entirety of your confusion is to be found in your perception. After all, we can't control most of what happens in life, but we do have some say over how we relate to things. We can consider, how much control do I actually have here? When we do this, we can stop wasting our mental, emotional, and physical energy trying to influence things beyond our control, and instead focus on our internal landscape. What we do with our mind and heart, how we think, and where we place our attention. If you imagine a boat in a storm, you'll realize that it doesn't stay perfectly level. It rocks and sways with the swells. Having a keel doesn't mean we don't feel moved by the changes of life. It means that when the big waves come, our boat doesn't capsize. Maintaining perspective helps us to roll with the waves and with each swell. It brings us back to a quiet knowing deep in our heart and helps us to upright, to find our center again. Working with change in this way helps us to trust in the present moment. There's no place else we can live, nowhere to run to, no better, happier or safer place somewhere over there. It's when we can breathe and ease into the reality of this moment that we find true inner freedom. It's a freedom that comes not from controlling life, but from a flexible inner strength that can meet changes with a steady eye, that can be with whatever happens. This freedom is not just for ourselves. When we're able to find inner stability and balance in times of great change, we're more available for others. When we're in touch with the truth of uncertainty, we're able to bring forth the beautiful qualities of our heart: kindness, patience, compassion, generosity. Then we become a source of support, comfort, and strength for those around us. I've heard it said that the furthest distance in the universe is from the head to the heart. But it is in stillness that we find this path. It is in the quiet space that we can get out of our heads and connect more deeply with ourselves, thereby allowing ourselves to be open to possibilities when they arrive. All things are continually changing, and this implies that all things are going to be uncertain because they're always changing. It seems that the more resistant we are to accepting change, the more we're going to suffer. When asked what Buddha meant by suffering, his answer was, asking the world what it can never give you. Our mundane world is chaotic, risky, arbitrary, and confusing. Life seldom makes sense. What we want is an assurance that all this is an illusion. We want answers, sometimes desperately. Buddhism is unique in insisting that the kind of answers we want cannot be had anywhere. Emptiness, in other words, inherent uncertainty, is at the heart of Buddhism. For this reason, Buddhism is sometimes described as the way of disappointment. If we follow it sincerely, Buddhism repeatedly crushes our hope that somehow it will satisfy our longing for answers, for ground we can build on, for reliable order. Alan Watts talks about how faith is an attitude of being open to whatever might be. And to me, this implies that rather than having faith in making the right decision, I'm placing my faith in my ability to wisely adapt to whichever choice I end up making. Because in this sense, faith is not about trying to eliminate uncertainty. It's about being comfortable with uncertainty. You could almost say that faith is synonymous with uncertainty. One of the things that I've done in my own life is focusing on developing my ability to adapt. Because uncertainty is here to stay, but how we choose to deal with it is the one thing we really can control. I like to compare life to a game of Tetris. You're always getting a new shape, and you're always adapting your gameplay to the new reality that's constantly unfolding in front of you. One way to combat the fear of uncertainty is to increase your ability to adapt as life unfolds. We will always fear uncertainty. The point isn't to get rid of that fear. The point is to become comfortable with it and to recognize that it's natural, and the quicker you adapt, the less frozen you get in that fear. My final thought is to learn going with the flow. Be like water. Think of how water adapts immediately to anything and everything. Water is the ultimate expression of the wisdom of adaptability. Water can adapt to anything. Water has the power to change anything. Water in the form of a river flows through a canyon, and it adapts to whatever the path needs to be for it to flow. And at the same time, water is what's carving that path. So the strength of it is found in its adaptability. And we can go through life in that same way. We can be like water. We can adapt to the circumstances around us and at the same time shape those circumstances. In other words, we are shaping them because we are adapting to them. When we become poets of uncertainty, we are developing the art of moving with the dance of life and learning how to be creative within that movement. It's a great paradox of life that it is actually through embracing uncertainty that we thrive. In the end, our lives are greatly determined by what we do when we face uncertainty. A lot like playing Tetris, realizing that the whole point of the game is that we don't know what's coming next. Thank you for watching.